Modellista is a racing game from Capcom, a company that you wouldn't readily expect to be coming out with a driving game of any sort. And Modellista really isn't your run-of-the-mill driving game either. It has a unique cel-shaded look that actually manages to use the technique to a very good effect. It's a really fantastic looking game. As the cel-shaded look begins to get a little bit more played out, as more and more games start to use it, it's cool to see a game that takes a kind of a fresh look and a fresh take on the style. While the game looks fantastic, unfortunately the gameplay and the rest of the game's factors really don't stand up to its presentation. And in the end, the game is good, but not great. Modelista's main mode is called Garage Life. Here you'll kind of be presented with various series of races that are broken up into levels, and then each level consists of a handful of races. Basically what you'll have to do to progress from level to level is win a certain amount of races. In the first series, there'll be like 3 different choices of runs for you to take, and you'll have to score first place on one of them to advance to the next level. Eventually you'll have to be racing in every single race in a level to progress. There are 7 levels in all, unless you go back to try to unlock every last car part and every last car and every last little garage item. You can burn through these 7 levels relatively quickly. But what they do is provide you with a means for unlocking things. For scoring first place in any one of these races, you'll earn items, and sometimes you even have to go back to races that you've already cleared to race them again for even more unlockable items. And here you'll get new cars, new parts for tuning up your cars, new aero parts for kind of redesigning the way your cars look, new sticker designs, or new items that you can use to decorate your garage. Aside from Garage Life, you can also set up a variety of other modes, like Arcade Mode, where you can play a 2-player split-screen race. You can race against ghost cars, or just kind of race any track against a field of AI-based opponents. But the main draw to Modellista is its online play. It's broadband only, and you can have up to 8 cars on one track. And it performs pretty well. You'll occasionally see some cars kind of jerk around turns, not very realistically. The lag kind of manifests itself as you'll see cars kind of pop or back and forth across the track instead of smooth turns. And, that can be a little disconcerting at times, but it's never really so major that it gets in the way of the gameplay. For the most part, if you have a decent broadband connection, you shouldn't have any problem whatsoever playing it against people. When it comes to driving games, you're only as good as the driving system allows you to be. It's this driving system in Modellista is where the game starts to fall apart in some ways. The game attempts to straddle the line between simulation-style racing and arcade-style racing, and in some cases it does each aspect reasonably well. On the simulation side, you'll earn parts that you can use to upgrade your car. You can change tires, you can adjust brake pressure, your suspension strength, and all these will have some effects on your car's handling and performance. But then on the arcade side of things, the game definitely has a very stiff drift mechanic built in that asks you to kind of master the art of sliding around corners. This isn't necessarily done, it's not exactly like Ridge Racer, it's not exactly like Burnout 2, it doesn't really follow in the footsteps of any other racing game. It's more of a looser drifting mechanic where, the cars will just break loose around corners without you having to hit the brakes or do anything. The key is just kind of using, the right amount of counter steering and making sure that you're slipping around these corners just right. Unfortunately, players don't actually really have to learn that much to succeed in the game, particularly in the offline mode. The game's collision system is pretty flawed. When you hit off the outside of a turn, if you can angle it just right, even hairpin turns or full-on right angle turns, if you just hit the front corner into the outside wall of the turn just right, you'll only lose 20 or 30 miles an hour off your speed, and you'll bounce off the turn actually facing in pretty much the right direction to proceed and start accelerating again. Because all the AI drivers play it safe and actually slow down around these corners, you can pretty much blaze your way through the single-player mode by just mashing down the gas pedal and keep making sure you're pointed in the right direction. You'll bang your way around the outside edges of turns, and it'll never be pretty, but you'll win and you'll unlock all that stuff in a matter of hours. Overall, Modellista is a fantastic looking game, and it is probably the fastest looking game on the market. But just with the way the cars handle, kind of gets in the way of your enjoyment of trying out all the different cars the game has to offer, and even playing it online to a certain extent. It's a game that really could have used some more polish to it, that would have made the online mode a lot more enjoyable, and probably would have fixed up a few of the flaws with the way that the collision system works and stuff. Overall, if you're a fan of the driving genre, it's worth taking a look at because it is a really fast-looking game. But it's a game that a lot of people are going to be turned off by almost immediately by its refusal to either become a full-on sim or a full-on arcade racing game.